Welcome to the session. Today we are going to discuss about spanning trees. What is a spanning tree? A GBA connected graph, a subgraph T of G is called a spanning tree. If T is a tree, that is subgraph is a tree, and it contains all the vertices of G, then we can say that subgraph is a spanning tree. That means whenever G is a connected graph, a subgraph of T of G is called a spanning tree. First of all, it should be a tree and it contains all the vertices of the original graph. Then we can say that that subgraph is a spanning tree. In other words, a spanning tree of a connected graph is a spanning subgraph, and that is also a tree. So here we are considering a graph. Okay, G is a graph, and we are going to consider so many subgraphs of this, and one of the subgraph is this, and the subgraph is a tree. Subgraph is a tree, and it is having the same number of vertices what G is having. So this subgraph is a spanning tree. Before that, it is a tree, and it contains a tree which is consisting all the vertices of original graph is known as a spanning tree. So suppose find all the spanning trees of a graph. Suppose we can get more than one spanning tree of any graph. So let us consider we are taking one graph. Let us say we are considering a graph is like this. So now we are going to construct all the spanning trees, possible spanning trees for this from this graph. So there are 4 vertices and edges are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 edges are there. 5 edges are there. So what are the possible spanning trees? So there are so many possible spanning trees that we are going to get. So one possible spanning tree is, let us we are going to consider one possible spanning tree is this. And another spanning tree, we are going to consider another spanning tree is like this. Another spanning tree. Then we are going to consider another spanning tree which is like this also. So all are subgraphs, as well as they are consisting, as well as it is a cycleless. So they are all trees, as well as it is consisting the total number of vertices what the graph G is having. So these are all spanning trees. And let us consider the another one is, okay, we are going to get another spanning tree is like this. So now another spanning tree, we are going to consider another one is like this. This is another spanning tree. Then the next one is, we are going to consider, say this is another spanning tree. Then once again we are going to consider this is not the same, and this is another one spanning tree. Then we are going to consider another spanning tree is like this. So there are these are the spanning trees from the original graph. So let us consider this as a T1, this as a T2, this as a T3, this as a T4, and this is a T5, and a T6, and a T7, and a T8. So all are subgraphs. Moreover, each and every subgraph is a tree, and it contains all the vertices of the original graph. So these are all spanning trees. That means for any graph that we are going to consider, it is a possibility that we are going to get more than one spanning tree. Now, what are the properties of the spanning trees? So there can be more than one spanning tree, as we discussed, of a connected graph. A spanning tree does not have any cycle or loop because a subgraph is itself a tree. A spanning tree is minimally connected. So if you are removing one edge from the tree, it will make the graph is disconnected. A spanning tree is minimally connected, because if you are going to remove any one edge from that graph, from that tree, then that is going to be disconnected. So a spanning tree is maximally acyclic. That is, so if you are going to add any one edge to the tree, then it will create a loop. It will create a loop. A spanning tree is acyclic. So if you are going to add any one edge to the tree, then it will create a loop. So here, suppose if you consider any complete graph, which is having n vertices, then there are n to the power of n minus 2. N to the power of n minus 2 spanning trees are possible. So n is nothing but the number of vertices. A spanning tree has n minus 1 edges, where n is the number of nodes or number of vertices. If the graph is a complete graph, then the spanning tree can be constructed by removing maximum e minus n plus 1 edges. E is nothing but the number of edges and n is nothing but the number of vertices. A graph G is connected if and only if it has a spanning tree. Is one of the property. A graph is connected if and only if it is having has a spanning tree. With respect to any of these spanning trees, a connected graph n vertices and m edges, it is having n minus 1 branches and m minus n plus 1 chords. And we are going to discuss what are the branches and what are the chords. Now, let us so a spanning tree is a subset of a connected graph, and there is no spanning tree of a disconnected graph. So all the spanning trees that we are going to consider, all the spanning trees are connected. So there is no disconnected graph which will become a spanning tree, because the tree is itself a connected subgraph. So these are the properties of the spanning trees. So here, once again, we are just recollecting all the properties. There can be more than one spanning tree, and a spanning tree does not have any cycle, and a spanning tree is minimally connected, because if you are going to add any one edge, the graph is having one by removing any one edge from the tree, then the graph is going to be disconnected. A spanning tree is maximally acyclic, means if you are going to add any one edge, then definitely it will create a loop. And any complete graph, if you are going to consider with n vertices, then there are n to the power of n minus 2 number of spanning trees are there. Suppose a complete graph with 3 vertices, then 3 power 3 minus 2, that is 3 spanning trees are going to be possible. Let us we are going to discuss. So here I am going to take, this is a complete graph with 3 vertices. Then how many spanning trees are possible? So this is one spanning tree, and another spanning tree is like this. I am going to get another spanning tree and another spanning tree that we are going to have just by removing any one edge. Then subsequently we are having 3 spanning trees. So similarly we can get any complete graph with 4 vertices. If I am going to take like this. So here, how many? These are 1, 2, 3, 6 edges will be there, and next 4 vertices will be there. So it is having 4 to the power of 4 minus 2, that is 4 square. So which is having 16 spanning trees. From this. And now a graph, a complete graph, then a spanning tree can be constructed by removing maximum E minus n plus 1 edges, where E is the number of edges, n is the number of vertices. A graph is connected if and only if it has a spanning tree. That means any connected graph, if you are going to consider, definitely we will have a spanning tree from that, or any spanning tree will be there, definitely the graph is connected, because the spanning tree is itself a tree, so tree is a connected subgraph. Now with respect to any of its spanning trees, a connected graph of n vertices and m edges has n minus 1 branches and m minus n plus 1 chords. So a spanning tree is a subset of a connected graph G. So there is no spanning tree which is a disconnected graph. So now let us go for another what is meant by a branches and what is meant by a chord and what is meant by a chord set. So here a spanning tree is a spanning tree and it is a subgraph already, we know that, and it consisting all vertices of the graph G. Then T is a maximal subgraph of G. For this reason, a spanning tree is also called a maximal tree. So spanning tree can also name as a skeleton or scaffolding, are also used for a spanning tree. So the edges which are there in the spanning tree, which is known as the branches. The edges which are there in the spanning tree is known as the branches. Suppose G is having n vertices, then the spanning tree is also having n vertices, and of course it is having n minus 1 edges. So n minus edges, each edge is a chord. So there are n minus 1 chords are there with respect to the spanning tree T. Then the complement of chords, the complement of G is the complement of T. The set of chords of G is the complement of T in G. The set is called the chord set or cotree of T. And it is denoted by T complement. We are going to discuss with an example of this. So let us go for one graph. Let us say we are going to take it as the graph is like this. So here the vertices are V1, V2, V3, V4, V5. There are 5 vertices will be there. We are calling it as a graph G. Now we just call this as one of the subgraph. Let it be the subgraph is. So we are going to consider V3, V1, V2. Then we have to take many subgraphs. We are going to get many spanning trees are going to get. One of the spanning tree is like this. So this is one spanning tree. Now whatever the edges are there in the spanning tree, we can call it as a chord. We can call it as branches. We can call it as a branches. So, and next, the edges of a spanning tree is called branches. And next, if it is having, G is having n vertices, a spanning tree must have n vertices, n minus 1 edges. So, all these are nothing but a chords with respect to T. And now we are going to consider a T complement if I am going to take it as the chord set T complement. So which is nothing but other than the T, what the graph is having. So we are going to consider this is V4 and V2 and next this is V5 and next V3. Then it is a V1. So T complement. See here, the set is called the chord set or cotree of T in G is denoted by T complement. So here, whatever the edges will be there, that we are going to consider as a chord set. So G can be represented as T union T complement. T union T complement. So with this we can define what is a branches and what are the chord set or cotree of T. So this is also known as a cotree of T. The T complement is known as a cotree of T. Then what is a minimal spanning trees. Now we are going to concentrate. Suppose or whatever the graphs we are going to discuss earlier, those graphs are not weighted graphs, because if you are not assigning any weight to the edges, suppose if the graph G is having a weighted graph, that means all edges are associated with a positive real number, each edge. Then the graph is known as a weighted graph. That means suppose whatever the graphs that we are going to consider, so suppose if you are going to assign the weights, so let us say a positive real number 2, 3, 1. So this is a weighted graph. This is a weighted graph. That means each edge will have some weight. Each edge will have some weight. Okay. So we are going to consider now weighted graphs we are going to consider. For example, consider a graph in which the vertices represents the cities in a particular state and edges represents the roads connecting those cities. That means whatever the cities are there, let us say in a state, let us say it is having 5 cities. Let us we are having 5 cities, and if cities are represented with a vertices, and suppose if you are going to construct a road, a connecting road between any two cities, that means edge is going to be represented. Edge is going to represented a track, a road connecting between the two cities, So now we are going to calculate what is the distance from one city to another city. So while we are going to calculate the distance from one city to another city, then it represents in kilometers. Let us say it is going to represent 200. Let us say this is 200 kilometers from, see here, A, B, C, D, E. Or 5 cities will be there. Then there is a road connectivity from city A to city B, which are 200 kilometers. Then I am assigning some weight to that edge. So if I am assigning another way, B to C, the kilometers are, let us say, 100 kilometers if I am taking between these two cities, then it is known as another weight is going to be assigned. Like that, there can be, we are going to assign the distance from the each and every between two cities, we are going to represent kilometers in terms of numbers, then we call this as a weighted graph. This is a weighted graph. So any edge, all edges if you are going to consider, then it is having weight. Such a graph is known as a weighted graph. Now suppose if you are going to consider the spanning trees of this graph, we can consider so many spanning trees. From this we are going to get so many spanning trees. Let us, I am going to have one spanning tree is like this. Say another one is another spanning tree I am going to have like this. So another spanning tree, just I am going to remove any one edge. I can get one spanning tree. So each and every spanning tree will have some weight. This is adding all the things, all the weights. Then we are going to get the weight of this tree. And similarly, for this tree also we are going to have some weight. And this tree is also having some weight. So from this graph, we can have a many number of spanning trees. each spanning tree will have a weight. Among all the spanning trees weights, we are going to find out a minimal weighted tree. That minimal weighted tree is known as a minimal spanning tree. So minimal spanning tree may uniquely exist or may not uniquely exist. So this minimal spanning tree may be unique or may not be unique. So we are going to find, instead of finding all the spanning trees, and we are going to find the weight of each and every spanning tree, calculating, and we are going to compare all the weights of the spanning trees, and in that we are going to select the minimal weighted spanning tree. The process is difficult. Minimal weighted spanning tree is known as finding a minimal weighted spanning tree. The process is difficult. So in order to avoid this process, directly we are going to get by using some algorithms, we can straight away we are going to get a minimal spanning tree. So here we are going to discuss two algorithms. So from these two algorithms are, one is Kruskal's algorithm and another one is the Prim's algorithm. So from these two algorithms, we straight away calculate what are the minimal weighted spanning tree. So in this, first we are going to concentrate what is a Kruskal's algorithm. So from these algorithms, we can find out a minimal weighted spanning trees. So now step one is consider any graph. Consider a weighted graph. So list all the weights, all the edges weights of Z in non-decreasing weights. That means we are going to select the least weight, and next we are going to select the next weight like this. That means the weights are going to arrange in a increasing order. That means either we can call it as a non-decreasing or increasing order. The weights we are going to arrange in the increasing order. So why first weights are going to be arranged in the increasing order? That means each edge weight. Then we have to select the smallest weighted edge, and next we have to select the next higher weight. Like that we have to select the edges. While selecting the edges, we can see that there should not be any cycle. And the process is going to be continued up to we are going to select n-1 edges. After that, we are going to ignore the remaining edges. So whatever the tree that we are going to obtain, that is known as a minimal weighted spanning tree, and the weight we are going to calculate by considering the weights of those edges. So here the process which is there in the step 2 is nothing but the greedy process. So we have to arrange all the weights in ascending order. So we have to select the least weighted edge first. Next least weighted edge we have to select. Next least weighted edge we are going to select. Like that we have to move. And we have to select. While selecting these edges, we can see that there should be no cycle is formed. See how many edges that we have to select. See, you have to select only n minus edges. This is the Kruskal's algorithm. Now, for this directed graph, let us say this is the graph G. It is a weighted graph. Now from this graph, we are going to find a spanning tree, minimal spanning tree. So for that, First step is we have to arrange all the weights in ascending order. In ascending order. So we have to write first, select all the edges. Select all the edges. Whatever the edge the graph is having. So we are going to select all the edges. Now afterwards we have to write the corresponding weight. We have to write the corresponding weight. And next we have to, whether we have to select that edge or not. That edge or not. We have to consider. Now first one is, what are the edges? Which edge I have to consider? So from this, where it is having the least weight, the least weights are only 3. So I can consider any one of this in any one of order. So first I am going to consider CR is one edge whose weight is 3. Next another one is RQ. RQR is another edge whose weight is 3. Now next we go for the next weight. What is the next weight is 5. So we are going to take that edge as BP, and we have to consider that weight is nothing but 5. Is nothing but 5 BP. Then we have to consider the next weight is 6. So we have to consider the corresponding edges. The corresponding edges. Let us say AB. In any order we can consider 6 and AP, which is known as also 6. So 6 also over. Now the next edge is 7. Next edge is 7. 7 is nothing but CP, and CP weight is 7. 7 is also over. Now the next one is 8. 8 is nothing but AC. So this weight is 8. And next another one is 10. That is nothing but BQ. That is nothing but BQ. So BQ we have to consider the weight is 10. The weight is 10. So how many edges it is having? So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8, 9 edges it is having. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Only we have 8 edges. See, one more is missing. So one more 5 is there. This is CQ is not considered here. We have to write CQ. We have to write CQ. CQ weight is 5. AP weight is 6. And next AP weight is 6. And AB weight is also 6. AB weight is also 6. AB weight we have to consider it as 6. Then 7th weight is PC. Then we have to take it as PC. It is weight is 7. And next 8th weight is AC. So we have to consider AC. Weight is 8. AC weight is 8. And next we have to consider the weight of the next edge is. So it is a 10. So which is nothing but a BQ. Edge is 10. So how many vertices it is having? So edges are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So number of edges is 9. How many vertices it is having? 3, 4, 5, 6. Number of vertices are 6. So any spanning tree if you are going to construct, then in that number of edges are only n minus 1. So it is 5 edges we have to select. So I am going to consider only 5 edges. While selecting 5 edges, should not be considered any loop. So initially we are going to consider select this CR edge. So first I am going to select this CR edge whose weight is 3. Next another one is QR. So once again we are going to select QR, which is also, then this is also 3. Then BP. So we have to consider BP. So B and P. So we have to consider BP, which is 5, because there is no cycle is formed. Next CQ. While I am going to construct a CQ, then there is a cycle will be formed. So I am not going to construct that. Next another one is AP. AP I have to select AP. Then I am going to consider A, and then it is a P, then it is a 6. Then it is a 6. Then another one is AP. Next one is AB. AB. So both are 6. AB. AB I cannot construct. AB if I am going to consider, then the cycle will be formed. So I am not going to connect it. I am not going to consider this. Next PC. PC. Then the next weight is a PC. So I have to select this. So PC is 7. I am selected. Now how many edges are selected here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 edges are enough for us, and the corresponding minimal weighted spanning tree is this. Minimal weighted spanning tree is this. Then what is the weight of this spanning tree? What is the weight of the spanning tree? So the weight of the spanning tree is, weight of the spanning trees, just add all the things, all the weights. 6 plus 5 plus 7 plus 3 plus 3. So it is 11, 18 plus 6. So we are going to get 24. So the weight of the edge is 24. The weight of the spanning tree by using Kruskal's algorithm. By using Kruskal's algorithm, we can have the spanning tree weight is 24. Of course, we may get more than one spanning tree also with the same weight. Now I will go for the other example. So let us having, this is the other graph. Let us say the graph is G, and how many number of vertices it is having? Number of vertices it is having. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vertices. How many edges it is having? Number of edges. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 edges it is having. 9 edges. So spanning tree, while I am going to calculate, spanning tree will have edges. Number of edges are only 5. Only 5. So step 1 we are going to consider. Step 1 is just arranging the weights in ascending order, and step 2 we are going to select the weights in such a way that there should not be any loop form, and step 3 is the process will be continued up to n minus 1 edges it is going to be achieved. So these are the different steps. Now step 1 we are going to arrange all the weights in ascending order. All the weights in ascending order. So we are going to take in the same manner. So it is edges will be, and now the weight, the corresponding weight, whether we are going to select or not. So here first we are going to select the least weight. Least weight is 5. So we are going to get CR, which is 5. Next another one is, this is over. Next weight is 7. 7 is QR. So which is 7, and 7 is over. Now 7 is, another 7 is there. PR. PR. This is also 7. And next another one is 8. So BQ. BQ. 8. And next 9 is will be there. So BR. BR. It will be 9. Then 10 is BC. 10. And next AB is also 10. In any order you can take. So 10. And next another one is 11. 11 is AQ is 11. 11, and we are going to consider the next another 11 is, so AQ is 11, and another only one 11 we have PQ, whose weight is 12, whose weight is 12. So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 edges we selected, and step 2, we are going to select the edges. So first CR is a minimal, so you select that. So we are going to write CR, we are going to write it as, so CR, so CR is 5. Next QR, CR will be, next we have to consider QR, 7 also considered. Next PR, where is that PR? So PR also we are going to consider. So this will be PR. So PR is 7. Next, another one is BQ. So we can select BQ. So here it is BQ. Then it is 8. BQ will be 8. And then the another one is, how many BQ? BR. Where is the BR? BR I cannot select. And next BC I cannot select. AB I can select. AB I can select AB. It is 8. So AB is 10. So how many edges we selected? Only 5 edges were selected. So while selecting, it should not be formed any other any cycle, and the remaining edges, remove those remaining edges. And whatever the thing, the process is continued only for 5. The process is continued up to n minus 1 edges. See, n minus 1 edges is over. Now, what is the weight of the spanning tree? Weight of the spanning tree. Weight of a spanning tree. So it is a 10 plus 8 plus 7 plus 7 plus 5. So it is 18 plus 14 plus 5. So this is 18 plus 19. 18 plus 19. So it is nothing but 37 what we have. So it is 37 is the weight of this. So 37 is the weight of that. So this, like this, we can consider, we can calculate the spanning trees by using Kruskal-Salgato.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.